So can I get a motion to adopt the agenda? Jerry and Harold? All in favor? And we have.
Yes, we're in, are we?
We know we have some counselors. I think Tracy is online. So far, that's it. So I guess we have quorum.
And Tracy, yeah, being online is.
Yeah, okay, great. All in favor, carried, good. Okay, any disclosures of pecuniary interest? None seen. Okay, and can I have a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting, please? Jerry and Harold, all in favor? Carried. Good. Okay. Any business arising from the minutes? None seen?
Madam Chair, just one item that was coming out from the minutes was a submission to the minister for your position to get an exception. So,
Yeah.
So that has been put forward to the ministry's office. They did indicate that the draft minutes would work just fine.
Yeah.
I'll forward them the final minutes when they're approved, and so that is in process with the minister.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, we don't have any deputations. Okay, 6.1, presentation and applicable action items. Welcome, Melanie DeGard, CPA, CA from Doane Grant Thornton. Take it away. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Someone's working their magic. So yes, we've provided our report here on the results of the audit. I don't know who's actually working.
The clicker right there.
This right here?
Give that a try and
Oh.
see if that works.
Okay. Oh, okay. There we go. Wonderful. So yeah, this was our first year working with your organization. And I'd like to say that I thought that the audit went quite smoothly. You know, it's great when we get lots of cooperation. It helps make the audit go a lot more effectively and efficiently. So we are substantially complete, and the last items that we need in order to finalize the financial statements in our audit report would just be the receipt of the signed management representation letter, the approval of the financial statements by the board, and then we have standard inquiries with respect to any potential subsequent events. We'd like to highlight our risks and some of the procedures that we performed as part of the audit. So the first one is with respect to planning and permitting revenue, just making sure that it's recorded appropriately. So we've included some of the procedures that we performed, the testing that we did, and there were no matters of concern noted. Fraud risk from management override is a standard risk for almost every audit. So it's a presumed risk. What we do there largely is testing of journal entries. So we do get the entire population of journal entries and do testing based on, you know, where things could be unusual, and we didn't note any matters of concern. And then the other area of significant risk is around expenses. Obviously, that's, you know, the bulk of what you do is spend money. So we'd like to make sure that the expenses are properly recorded, that they were recorded in the right year, and then also presented in the right bucket from a financial statement reporting perspective. And we didn't note any concerns with respect to that. Some other considerations, we also look at payables just to make sure that they're appropriate. So we do testing of those. And then we also look at your employee compensation expenses and do testing there. No issues were noted. There are some estimates in your financial statements, nothing of great significance, really. You know, potential non-collection of receivables, amortization rates and useful lives of your capital assets, and some of the accruals, and there were no issues noted with respect to those estimates. We didn't note any fraud or illegal acts, and we're not aware of any litigation proceedings that might result in a contingent liability. So as I mentioned, it was a clean audit. We have no adjustments to report to you and no unadjusted differences. So we always like it when it's clean and we're not posting, 30 entries as part of the audit. So what that reflects too is that any financial information that you've looked at throughout the year is an accurate picture of where you ended up. We take a look at internal controls around financial reporting just to make sure that we have a good understanding. And if we see some opportunities for improvement, we like to bring that forward. One of the items that we noted was with respect to the access to cash and cash handling. So just recommending potentially having a lockbox with two access points. So you're limiting someone having sole access to the box and being able to have cash. Also looking at evidence of review of manual journal entries, just making sure that those are documented. Looking at the administrator access log. So it's best practice not to have someone in the accounting department have also IT administrator access, but in so many organizations, unfortunately, that happens because you have limited staff. So where you do have that crossover of roles, it's good to just have someone, print out the log of what the administrator access was used for and have someone review it. It's a good mitigating control. And then just another best practice recommendation is having a formal risk assessment done of the organization. So a comprehensive look at risks facing the authority, and so that not just financial, so thinking about reputational risk, legal, environmental, those sorts of things, and coming up with a risk management plan. We'll also confirm our independence as a firm and as a team so that we're able to provide an objective audit opinion. And then we've included some accounting and auditing updates in the appendices to our report. Nothing impacting this year, but there is coming down the pipeline some changes in financial reporting. So your financial statements will be changing for 2027. And so there'll be a new look to how some of the information is reported. So if you've gotten comfortable with how things are presented now, there's going to be some tweaking coming down the pipeline with that. And then the appendices, we've included the engagement letter for your information, as well as there's a lot more detail. I'm not going to go through all the appendices, but happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Thank you. Okay. So any questions for Melanie? Okay. So nice to see a woman.
Oh.
Tracy, Councillor Richardson and I were at a STEAM initiative yesterday for young women, and it's really nice to see more women in that sort of role.
Thank you.
Okay, no questions. So I guess thank you.
Did you want me to go through the financial statements at all, or is that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I can just do like a high level look at those.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I mentioned, the audit report should look fairly consistent with what you've seen in prior years. It's a clean, unqualified audit opinion in accordance with public sector accounting standards. There is an other matter paragraph, and that's just there because the comparative information in the statements was audited by another firm. So we have to have that there this year. So just a couple items to highlight on your statement of financial position. Again, we didn't post any entries, so nothing should be a big surprise to you, but just some highlights of variances. The accounts receivable amount is higher at the end of the year versus last year, and that's as a result of some levies that were outstanding at that time, as well as some project funding that hadn't been received. And a lot of it is just timing, on December 31st, does that check come in or not? So that's why there's a fluctuation there. as well as with cash and cash equivalents. The only other item to highlight on here down at the bottom is prepaid expenses. It has a bit of a swing. It's higher versus prior year. And that's just as a result of some insurance that got paid early for 2026. So it was prepaid for the next fiscal year. On the statement of operations, overall, it was a positive year. There's an annual surplus of $151,000. There has been a bit of a decrease in revenues as a whole, and part of that is as a result of the completion of the Trent Lakes floodplain project. So the revenues decreased there in the special benefiting category 2. And also last year, there was a donation of land that resulted in stewardship and conservation lands having more revenue as compared to this year. But overall, no large swings in revenues or expenses. And again, just a positive result overall. Those are the main statements that I wanted to highlight. The notes to the financial statements, there were no new policies required this year. There were no new accounting standards that came into play over the last couple of years. There's been new changes with asset retirement obligations and a new revenue standard, but this year there were no new required changes. So your policies are unchanged, and the disclosures are pretty consistent with prior years, just providing additional detail on the overall results for the organization. The deferred revenue note's a good note. It does provide a breakdown of revenues that have come in for various projects that haven't been spent yet that are to be utilized in future periods. So you can see what monies are sort of sitting there in cash at the end of the year for future spending. And then your accumulated surplus note just shows, although you have this accumulation of surplus, some of it is allocated specifically for tangible capital assets. That's the largest portion. And then you've got your internal allocations of other funds to be utilized. So those are really the highlights of your financial statements. Again, if there's any questions, I'll do my best, but I'll probably throw it over to Louisa.
Okay, thank you again. Any questions? Harold?
Yes, thank you. Ask you, Madam Chair, here at the center. I'm just on that last bit there on the surpluses, the internal current and capital funds unrestricted surplus. Are those held as cash, or they invested in GICs, or how are they held? I see that it's tangible on their land and rolling stock and whatever, but the current and capital funds, how are they held?
Through you, Chair, there's a portion of it that's held in your cash and cash equivalents, but really this is an accumulation of surpluses over time. So it's really buried, if you will, a little bit in your statement of financial position within your assets and liabilities. So it's a net reflection of change over the years.
Okay, yeah, okay, I think I understand that now. Yeah.
It's like equity if you were
Right, okay.
in a for-profit organization.
Yeah. And that's what I keep comparing to.
Yes.
And kudos to you too, that your presentation of this year is much easier to graph that way than we have in previous years.
Yes.
I can see it more this time around, which brings up more questions too, but no, it's quite a lot nicer. Yes. Between your.
Yes.
Okay. Hey. Alrighty. So Tracy, do you have any questions? No. Okay. Alrighty. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it was a good presentation.
Very good.
So can I have a motion to receive the presentation of the 2025 audited financial statements? Okay, Jerry, Peter?
Yeah.
All in favor? Carried. Great. Okay. So I guess that all takes into effect, but the 6.1.1
Yeah,
too.
that's the staff report, which
Okay.
has specific allocation to
Okay.
reserves.
All right, so 6.1.1, 2025 audited financial statements. Lisa.
Yep.
Yep.
If you want, I can start with the report. So the recommended resolution, as you would have noted in the financial statements, that there is a board process for approving the additions or subtraction
Yeah.
to reserves. So that's what the resolution states.
Yeah.
And Melanie was just ran through the financial statements, so just a motion to receive those as well in that one resolution. If there's any additional questions on the material, I'm sure that we can answer them.
Okay. So the addition in capital reserves. You want to maybe speak to that?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll let Louisa explain some of those elements and to just let her get oriented to the material. Windy Ridge is a reduction based on the activity that's that our staff have on the area. It was originally a bequest.
Yeah.
The unrestricted fund is a general fund that's available for the organization in case there's a need to tap into that. And the capital reserves, I'll let Louisa explain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the unrestricted fund, we do that every year.
Yes.
So, yeah. But I was just wondering what would be in the capital reserves, the addition.
To you, Madam Chairs. The capital reserves represents any fixed assets that we purchase throughout the year, net of any amortization of our current.
Could you speak up a little bit? Sorry.
So the capital reserve is the net of all the capital assets that we have purchased, capitalized certain assets such as furniture, fixture, computers, other like generator, for example, they're capitalized. And the net of any amortization of our fixed assets throughout the year. So that is an accumulation of our capital reserve.
So that's above and beyond. So that goes, yeah,
correct.
that's all I want. Thanks. Okay. Any other questions for Louisa? Okay, so can I get a motion resolved that the 2025 draft financial statements as audited by the firm Doan Grant Thornton be approved and that the reserves be adjusted in the amounts of 3,396 reduction in Windy Ridge Conservation Area, 31,802 addition in capital reserves, and 122,978 addition in the unrestricted fund, representing a total increase in net assets of 151,384 in 2025. Jerry, mover and a seconder. Peter, all in favor? Carried. Great. Okay. So on to 6.2, Nancy, Director of Integrated Watershed Management. Nancy Aspen, Spring Outlook and Flood Forecasting Update.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it's good news.
Well. Okay.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah. Oh, I want to go forward. Come on.
Says
Up.
it's talking.
Down? Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, so thank you. I'm here today to provide a brief flood forecasting update on some of the activities that our Kawartha watershed has experienced over the last month and bring you up to speed on current spring conditions and what we can expect moving into April. So first, I will begin with a recap of the last few weeks. On March 2nd, staff conducted our routine snow survey at 4 locations across our watershed. Snow depth averaged 47 centimeters with the snow water equivalent. While the snow water equivalent, which is the amount of water found within the snow pack, was still quite high at 106.5 millimeters. At that time, data was showing that we were experiencing higher snow water equivalent than had been seen in previous years between 2020 and 2024, and tracking on the same trajectory as last year, which ultimately experienced a spring flooding situation. So in anticipation, we were convinced that it was that we would experience, if we experienced the perfect storm, such as warmer temperatures and increased precipitation, the dense snowpack would be prompt for a rapid melt. So the figures on this slide give a great visual of where we were at on March 2nd. So I'll point your attention to the black line. And then again on March 15th in terms of snow depth and snow water equivalent. On March 2nd, we reached our maximum snow depth for the season and just slightly below our last year's snow water equivalent value. Based on the measurements collected on March 2nd and looking at historical trends, we were able to get a clear indication that if temperatures began to rise, we could potentially be in a flooding situation. As you can see from these graphs, as we move deeper into March, both the snow depth and the snow water equivalent has dropped significantly. So temperatures began to rise above zero on March 3rd and continued over a span of 10 days. Spring melt typically accelerates more rapidly when temperatures stay at above 5 degrees during the day and remain close to zero or above at night. For us, this occurred between March 7th to March 11th. These warm temperatures peaked on March 10th, accelerating both melt and runoff across our watershed. So this graph just shows you the mins and the max temperatures that we have seen up to date. Okay, so in addition to the temperatures increasing, we also experienced two major rainfall events on March 7th and March 11th, contributing to an average of 15.4 millimeters and 28.7 millimeters of rain falling on our watershed respectively. This high intensity rainfall in combination with higher than normal temperatures increased the flood risk to the watershed, resulting in staff enhancing our flood forecasting activities. So just as we expected, from the warming and the increased precipitation, water levels began to rise quite rapidly across our watershed, especially on Mariposa Brook and Blackstock Creek. The Burnt and Gull rivers did begin to rise during this time period, but not as rapidly as the top two during the event. So as you can see, the lighter blue line was the water level. And as I will mention on the next slide, Mariposa Brook did crest over its critical level. So this brings us to the Mariposa flood watch. So with the water levels rising, rain still falling and temperatures warming, we saw that Mariposa Brook did react. March 7th, Mariposa Brook was at normal levels for that time of year. As we approached March 9th, water levels began to elevate, ultimately reaching critical level on March 11th of 3.89 meters. This was a rise of 1.6 meters in 48 hours. By March 12th, the water levels had begun to stabilize and decline back down. At that time, it was 3.74 meters. And today, Mariposa Brook is sitting at 2.78. So it's gone down quite a bit. So as a reaction to the flooding or the elevated water levels, we did during that time, March 10th to 12th, the flood duty officer deployed 3 flood patrol crews across our watershed. The main goal was to identify and record areas that were showing evidence of flooding. Staff recorded 21 observations across our watershed. Staff logged flood information using a tablet in an online digital form, which automatically populated on an online dashboard back here at the office, where the flood duty officer closely monitored the conditions being reported and ensured that communications were passed along to our partnering municipalities if they were not aware of the situation in those specific locations. For example, if a road had water crossing over it and there was no signage, we would indicate it in our field observations and we would let the municipality know. I do not believe we had any, we didn't have to do any communications back to the municipality. They had already been aware of the situation. So as a result of increased threat to flooding and the watershed conditions, we issued 4 flood messaging statements in March. They included a flood watch, a watershed condition statement, flood outlook, and 2 watershed condition statements, water safety messages. And as of March 23rd, we have no statements active at this time. So as we look ahead, the smaller systems and tributaries across the Kawartha watershed have stabilized, and with very little snowpack remaining across our watershed, the risk of flooding is low at this time. However, the snowpack remains significant in Haliburton, holding a high amount of water equivalent, which could contribute to runoff with warming to all of the Kawartha lakes along the Trent Severn system. Temperatures are rising, but current modeling suggests that flood risks to lakes remain low at this time. Our latest update from Parks Canada states that most lakes are holding steady or dropping slightly. Lake Scugog, however, is currently at full capacity, so we will be closely monitoring over the next couple of weeks. Staff will continue to attend weekly meetings with Parks Canada for daily updates on Trent Severn Waterway lake water levels and manipulation of how they're moving the water through the system. As we move through April, we will actively monitor the weather, precipitation, and water levels, and will act accordingly if any flooding concerns arise. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. I have a question. So historically, when is it that the Burnt River floods? Is it, when the snowpack is melting, obviously, I guess, in Haliburton, not, so it's usually later in the, or earlier in the spring, I mean?
Interesting question that you asked, because we've had an internal discussion a couple times this or last week about it usually happens around Easter weekend.
Okay,
And now Easter weekend kind of fluctuates. So based on John's analysis, I think it's hit Easter weekend once across the last 10 years. What did you look at? 5 years, 10 years? And then usually approaching Easter weekend or just after Easter weekend.
okay,
We are not anticipating
good.
that flooding will happen on Easter weekend, but it's definitely getting primed. So we're kind of thinking if the lake levels are going to go high, it's going to be just after Easter this year.
Okay,
But it all depends on the weather. Based on the current forecast coming, it's still rather cold at night.
yeah, it's gonna be.
So
kind of
the
ending,
weather is kind of helping us out in this situation.
Great, thank you. Okay, any questions? Grace? Hi, Lloyd. See you up there. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion to receive Nancy's presentation? Jerry and Harold? All in favor? Carried. Okay. 7.1, permits issued by designated staff, Christy McCabe, Interim Director, Planning and Development.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pleased to announce we have another month of 100% hitting our timelines for both the provincial and our Conservation Ontario guidelines. We had 16 permits in the month of February. We are seeing that things are starting to level off a little bit from a permitting standpoint. But we're anticipating seeing some of the planning files coming through. We're anticipating we're going to see a bump in permitting very shortly as people start to look to the warmer weather and start to look at doing, some of the renovations and stuff like that are being planned. So, but things are looking great. The team's functioning perfectly.
Great. Thank you for all your hard work. Any questions of Christy? Okay, so resolve that the permitting performance report for February 2026 be received and that the following section 28 permits issued by staff be received. Permits issued 2026-022, 2026-037, permits revised 2023 478, 2025 012, 2025 091, and 2025 205. Jerry and Peter, all in favor? Carried. Okay. We're on to 7.2, proposed legislation, regional consolidation of conservation authorities. Mark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an update based on the decision that was posted by the ministry, and I know that we had circulated their presentation earlier. That's also attached to this report. And the report summarizes the general content of it. It wasn't extremely detailed, the decision point, but it did identify a little bit more information between the decision and the presentation that was provided. There were about 14,000 submissions that were received by the ministry. About 5,600 were received through the Environmental Registry of Ontario, and about 85, more or less 8,400 through email direct to the ministry itself. The decision was that the province will move forward. We did do some analysis. I know the board had asked previously about the content of the submissions and who they were from. In terms of who they were from, that information wasn't provided in the information that is rolled up from the ministry on the posts. But we did do an analysis. There's been a couple that have been rolling around, but John has did analysis on the comments in a very conservative way and found that about 60% were not supportive of the proposal. About 0.4% were supportive. I think there were actually 4 responses out of the mix that were actually supportive of the endeavor, and the rest were more ambiguous, I would call it. So it was the decision, however, was posted that they will be moving forward. And I'll run through some of the key pieces that were identified in terms of the changes from the original proposal to what we know currently. The watershed area is about 2,700 square kilometers bigger, and that's a result of moving Cloca over to Central Lake Ontario Regional Conservation Authority with the TRCA, Toronto Region Conservation Authority, but adding in Kawartha-Haliburton. And Kawartha-Haliburton has a much more significant watershed area than Cloca does. So as a result, the watershed area is quite a bit bigger, runs all the way past Brockville, for context. There were a few other minor revisions that were made, such as making Lakehead its own conservation authority. That was one that was noted in the consultation material, that they're a separate lake altogether, and it was difficult to understand why they're there. And then they split out the Lake Erie Conservation Authority as well, which had 8 members, and now it's 4 each. The OPCA role, the Ontario Provincial Conservation Agency role, was confirmed and was expanded on a little bit in the decision, which was a mention that there will be a project executive that will be assigned by the province to each of the regional conservation authority areas, and that there will be a project that they will be the first CAO as well for the regional conservation authority. And there will be a transition team that is also identified. The transition team will be the CAO, GM, or designate, and 1 municipally elected member per what are called predecessor CAs by the province. The province will also have a standard playbook that they'll be implementing as part of this in order to streamline the transitions, focusing on HR, finance, IT, and assets, which were specifically mentioned in their material. The other thing that they did identify was a commitment to 3 million in funding for transition activities and initiatives that were to be administered or used by the OPCA as they deem appropriate.
Can I just,
Yeah,
so that 3 million, that's not the total cost of doing this process of amalgamation.
No,
No, so that 3
There-
million is above and beyond the cost of doing that work of amalgamating.
yes, there will be a lot of work to do. The 3 million is specifically administered by the OPCA, but there's no indication how
How they're
that
going
will
to be spent.
be used.
Okay, sorry, just
Yeah,
wanted
no,
that to
absolutely,
be
yeah.
clear.
Any clarifications further?
Yeah.
Good to roll through it that way. Governance model, there was some new content that was identified. Initially, the province identified it would still be on a population base similar to what we currently have. The new content indicates that representation will shift from lower tier municipalities to entirely upper tier municipalities. And that's how they're going to solve the issue around very large boards at the regional conservation areas. So that having that, of course, means that there will be a whole bunch of new processes that will be have to be put into play to enable counties, for instance, to have that levy apportionment, because there is none currently. It's all with the lower tier municipalities. So that in our case affects Cavan Monaghan and affects Trent Lakes. So they would be represented by the Peterborough County in this case. For Durham Region is already a regional municipality as identified in the Act, and City of Kawartha Lakes is a single tier, so they would remain unaffected from that standpoint. There was some additional information that was also provided, which indicated there may be caps on total board size and limits placed on the number of representatives per municipality. In addition to keep the governance body for the regional conservation authorities at a small level, I guess, or a reasonable governance level. In terms of trying to address the provincial perspective of loss of local knowledge and relationships, their idea is to create watershed councils to address their perspective on what that means. And so the watershed councils are maybe defined in terms of percentage sector representation, similar to source water, the source protection committees, which have a representation to achieve. They did indicate that is where they see Indigenous representation, agriculture and development, in addition to other sector groups that they may consider appropriate. And as I mentioned, the membership may be defined in the legislation. The integration of watershed councils in the governance model is not entirely clear, but they are advisory in nature. They're not decision-making bodies. There are some transition guardrails that the minister is looking at putting into effect as well, which would be temporary directives to control any major financial decisions or organizational decisions that could disrupt the consolidation efforts. Those take the form of restrictions on major asset disposal, significant procurements, or structural changes to an organization. They also indicate that amalgamations, watershed enlargement, or dissolution are things that would not be permitted as well during a transition phase. Logistical details. The province has indicated 2027 would be the rollover. It became very clear that this year is the transition, with the transition committee being identified and that project executive being identified as well. So really a lot of work will be done this year. So that's something that we're working into our work plans in general. And at early in 2027, the target date was February. All 36 CAs would be dissolved and the new 9 entities would be created. They did hear the message around how things would migrate to the regional conservation authorities. So there are some continuity provisions that are provided for assets, liabilities, agreements, and partnerships. Staff, so employee transfer with rights and obligations, and permits and applications of process, including any board processes, for instance, hearings that might be ongoing. And the province also reserved the right to identify timing as well for budgets in 2027. So there is a likelihood that the province will identify budgets have to be approved, maybe even by the elections, so that the budget would have to be approved by September or by the election time.
Question, the transition committee, you know, it's an election year. So, yeah, it's elected people on that committee. So, and if it's going into February, how would that work? If people aren't reelected or people don't run?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, for that question. That is an item that has been raised at the Conservation Authority and probably municipal level. I can say that there's no information we have.
Yeah, I just thought I have talked to Angela about that, and we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know at present. Yeah. But you're right. It is difficult to represent a municipality when the elections may provide results that would have to shift members, and then you lose continuity in that process potentially. So, that is a risk factor for sure in this transition.
I think the transition, I mean, that, you know, February 2027, that's a short timeline really to do such a big job.
Yeah. And then the last.
Peter?
One question.
Yep.
Mark, you mentioned these advisory committees like the agricultural community and indigenous communities. Is there any additional funding, or is it expected to be paid off the backs of the municipalities?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair, that detail has not been provided. One thing I can say is that the province is looking at their budget today. We do expect that there will be an announcement. It could even be today on something that might be tabled in legislature. So we are awaiting until we hear something, and then we'll be.
Yeah, and it still has to pass the legislature. Chances are it will, but you know, it might take a little bit of time. I hope there's debate. So we'll see.
It just seems like the government wants to soften the impact of this amalgamation on the backs of municipalities. Suggesting all kinds of advisory committees and they've already stated that they want this to be municipally funded. The conservation authorities.
Yeah.
And $3 million doesn't go very far in the amalgamation process.
Well, I think that's above and beyond, and we don't know what that's for really yet. So
Yeah, what we do know is that there's 20 million that was announced by the province. And whether that 20 is over 5 years or over 3 or whatever the number is, it's not clear in the reports, but the only thing that is clear is that it's 20. The 3 million a year is over and above that, but it's all geared towards the OPCA, and 20 is geared specifically for OPCA functioning, and the 3 million is administered by the OPCA as they see fit.
So the OPCA, that will be appointments, not necessarily people from conservation authorities.
Yes, that is correct. There will be an announcement or information forthcoming from the province on appointments in a general sense. And we do know that from the previous material that about 6 to 8 members will be appointed for their OPCA governance board to roll out transmission and all things related to the OPCA duties and obligations.
Is there any background information on that? Or could it be like a developer or anybody with conservation background? It doesn't really spell that out, I don't think yet.
I don't recall any details, Madam Chair,
Yeah,
on that.
that's fine. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm pretty much done. Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any questions? Hi, Kriya.
Hi there. I apologize for coming in late. I am on a small holiday and the time flashed by, but I apologize, but I'm happy to be here and thanks for that report.
Thanks. Any questions? No. Oh, Tracy?
Yes, thank you through you, Chair. Again, I think I'm on the same page as the other members today regarding that transitional funding. And maybe after today's announcement, if there's more clarity, I think we need to keep a really close eye on that, because as a board, we need to, properly advocate, because, we don't want to have disruptions in services for our residents, right? But we also have big concerns when it comes to this funding. I've just gone through another merger with the Board of Health in the last year, and the transitional funding that they provided was not nearly enough. And that's come back to the municipality to cover off through a levy. So I just have the same concerns, I think, as everybody else, and, the wait and see. But when the wait and see comes, we should be ready to react with some type of messaging.
Thank you for that. And I think with the amalgamation of boards of health, that they did say that they would pay for that process. But as you say, that it not the whole amount. I don't think they actually said that they would pay for the process for amalgamating conservation authorities. There was
Yes.
talk of the 20,000 plus the 3, but
Yeah, there was no specific announcement on how those funds were to be used, but just that the OBCA, it would be going to the OBCA for things that they deemed appropriate.
okay. Thank you. So Jerry,
You're the chair, so the report predicts that this transition should start in 27 if it becomes law, and you are preparing already, I get that. Is there any guess when this transition is supposed to be complete and operational, or is anybody even thinking that far down the road?
the end of February.
Well, I think there's a couple, thanks for the question. It's a really good question. There's a couple guideposts, I would say, in the mix. One is project executive gets hired. That's kind of the start for us at least, because they'll be organizing the transition committee. We expect that to be made shortly after they announce the legislation, which will give the form and effect that they need to proceed with transitions. Then the next phase after that would be when the new entities are created, and that will be, target is February of next year. So that's the next big piece. And then the only other indication beyond that is kind of best knowledge. At that point, we know that the project executive serves a term of 2 years. So that would be, assuming that we start in May, that would run through for the transition to February, a little bit beyond that, and then a full year definitively for being the CAO of the new regional conservation authority. So that will put it into 2028 thereabouts, and then realistically, transition will occur with all the other work that needs to be done with the transition. So it'll easily be 5 years at least before you end up in some sort of stable environment. But up until then, there's going to be a lot of, I would say, a lot of normalizing of processes.
Jerry?
Through the chair, so that will overlap the next provincial election. It's the time frame for it now. I can't remember the year they pulled ahead, but it's gonna.
They added an extra year.
Yeah, yes, and I think realistically, the definition of legal entities is kind of that benchmark at that point in time. That's that will be accomplished within their term pretty easily. So.
Okay, can I have a motion to receive that report, please, Jerry and Peter? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we're on to 7.3 CAO report. Mark.
Great, and sorry, my computer just took a little nap here, so I will not try and revive it at the moment. There's been a lot of great activity again in the last month since the board met. Again, lots of prep work to make sure that our programs are up and running. A little bit more moving towards the operational side as opposed to setting things up. There's of course the audit has been a pretty big piece for finance. In terms of the communications activities that we've done, John produced a media summary report, which I thought was pretty interesting. It showed some of the highlights for the year compared to last year, and really quite impressive the amount of work that was done over last year. We are, as a leadership team, reviewing our HR policy as well, just to bring it up to standard. I know that we're going into a transition, but this was seen as something that was important to update as well, and make sure it is compliant with current some of the things that have changed over time. Planning and permitting, you already got the update on that front, so that's great. But the other added piece, which just wanted to highlight, was our not only our permitting but our planning as well was 100% compared to when municipalities want to see comments into them. So that's fantastic. It includes not only the planner and their comments, but also our engineer in any of their comments that they have on applications. So fantastic. We do have a staff report coming up on floodplain mapping, so I think I'll leave that for a little bit later. We did mention parking enforcement last meeting, that we're looking at a zero tolerance, and you see some of the impacts in the report that's before you. For the same period, there's a period between February 9th and March 9th of 2025 compared to 2026. And there is a 6-time increase in annual passes. So that's a pretty impactful, I guess you could say. We were out in the community on a number of different things, like the East Central Farm Show, a first meeting of its kind with watershed stewardship and forestry and some other people, maybe education, but to bring it together to kind of match some of the other big coordinating groups that are out there, like GIS, for instance, and the planners. For tree planting, we're getting everything up and running. At this point in time, we're pretty well set for the spring plant, just getting all the materials ordered in. The spring tree seedling is I believe that one is it finished? That one, yes. So we're just getting materials in. I think that's in April. Is the pickup 14th maybe?
3rd.
23rd, yeah. So coming up fairly soon. And the water fund is open currently for anyone that's looking to get some things that benefit their properties, but also from a watershed management standpoint are beneficial to do, and that's open until April 30th. We've got some funds that are coming in on several projects as well, and lots of great implementation on setting up the year and getting some things underway. Nancy identified in her presentation some of the flood forecasting activities as well, which was a pretty big piece for us in the last little while. And you do have, to cap it off, a picture of the fish habitat, the shoals that we were able to work with a couple of really important partners, Mississauga's Ascuga Valley First Nation. Thank you, Director Forbes, and the council there, and also Ascuga Lake Stewards Report, and I believe OFAH as well. So we look forward to bringing that forward to you in a future presentation, so you can see a little bit more about it as the activities unfolded. And we're just waiting for the ice to fully thaw and get the cobble that's on the ice now to drop and increase some ice shelves.
Cool. Great, okay. Any questions for Mark? Okay, can I get a motion to receive his report? Tracy and Kriya? All in favor? Carried. Alrighty. Okay, correspondence. So, anybody have any questions on the correspondence? Okay, can just get a motion to receive, resolve that the attached correspondence be received. Okay, Jerry and Peter, all in favor? Carried. Okay, 8.1 fee schedule update. It's on again, off again.
Yes. So the 2026 fee schedule is relatively simple, I guess, compared to what we were looking at originally. You will have noted in the correspondence that the minister put in a fee freeze again for this year. So we were in the middle of consultation when we received that letter, and we pulled the material from the website at that point in time. So we'll not be going forward with any increases to the planning or any of the changes to the planning and regulation fees. But the stewardship fees are still there. So the specific numbers are provided, which matches the overall intent of stewardship fees to capture the market price increases. So there's another 2 days worth of consultation on that. We haven't received any comments to date. So we're looking for approval of the fees with the caveat that if there's any comments that come in that we provide them to you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, resolve the specific fees set out in Fee Schedule 4 for stewardship services be approved following the conclusion of the commenting period ending March 29th, 2026. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Okay, Lloyd and Kriya, all in favor? Carried. Q. Okay, 8.2, approval of Burnt River floodplain. Christie.
So as you are aware, we had our draft floodplain mapping study that we took out for public engagement. We did host an open house at the City of Kawartha Lakes in the Victoria Room. And we had a number of individuals show up for that and a couple of questions that were had at that point in time. Most of those questions were around, who's responsible for what, who's regulating what, that sort of thing. And looking at, what goes into the decision-making on managing the water levels within the river system and that sort of thing. So it was generally a really well-received presentation. I think that we had some pretty good engagement from the community. We have posted that video to our YouTube channel. And we have received, at the time that we wrote the report, about 38 views at that point in time, which was only a couple of weeks after it had been posted. So it is continuing to have some engagement in that regard. And I've had some conversations with Galen. So this was what we needed to do in order to satisfy the grant.
Okay.
But I
That was my question.
And we had a timeline on that grant.
Okay.
And so we also recognized the fact that if we wanted to engage with the community in the community, it was a little more difficult to do in March during flood season when a lot of people in cottages aren't actually available and on site. And so that's why we went with the City of Kawartha Lakes section or room, so that we had that ability to live stream the meeting and receive questions that way. Galen is prepared in the summertime if there is an interest from the community and there's an appetite here that we would go up and try to arrange for a similar meeting within the community and meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
The one challenge we would have is, of course, our engineers, we would not be able to afford because the money's gone.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't be able to afford to have them in the room. And there may be some challenges around some of the other agencies. So I think one of the wonderful things about this session was we did have agency representation from the Ministry of Natural Resources, from Prince Edward Waterway.
Yeah.
And so there might be some challenges in getting those individuals back to the table, but we would certainly try.
But you've got that recording, so I mean, I did get some pushback from a few people in both Burnt River, mostly Burnt River, actually, and Kinmount. So it would be really great if we could have a small information session in both those places.
Yeah, we absolutely see the value in coming to the community where the community is at.
Thank you. That's
Yeah,
great.
Absolutely.
That's all I was wondering about. Okay. Any other questions for Christie? Okay. Can I have a motion to receive that? Jerry and Harold, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so I guess we're 2:00. And hey, there you go. Did it. So we're not going to, we've got some enclosed stuff, so we're gonna start the drinking water source protection part of the meeting, and I welcome I know Pam, same, she's a counselor. Are you counselor or deputy Reeve?
No.
Or deputy mayor?
Fourth term still counselor.
Okay.
It's a nice safe spot.
Okay. Yeah. Counselor from Minden Hills, so welcome. Thank you for coming.
I would really appreciate that I got here a bit early, heard some of that reporting. That was good. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And hello there, Walt McKechnie's on, Deputy Mayor of Municipality of Dysart.
Okay, hi there.
How you doing?
Good, and Counselor Mackenzie?
McKechnie.
Oh, McKechnie. It says Mackenzie on here. McKechnie. Yeah, okay.
I've been called worse.
Yeah, McKechnie. I'm a Haliburton. Yeah, I know. Yeah, okay. So.
Good afternoon. It's Councillor McKenzie from Highlands East, and I couldn't be called any better than that.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you for chiming in. So before we get started, we'd like to acknowledge that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which we are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that our watershed forms a part of the treaty and traditional territory of the southeastern Anishinaabe. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we live and work. To honor this legacy, we commit to being stewards of the natural environment and undertake to have a relationship of respect with our treaty partners. Okay, so we're going to get started here, and I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Okay, Jerry, and was that a hand up, Pam?
Yes, it was. It was
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you. Any declaration of pecuniary interest? None seen. Okay. And can I have a motion to approve the minutes of April 24th, 2025, please? Pam, and a seconder. Okay, Kriya, all in favor? Carried. Okay, so. Alrighty, what's your name there? Don't know.
Oh, all good.
Oh, okay, all right. So is there any business arising from the minutes? Okay, none seen. Okay, 6, update on Trent Conservation Coalition Source Protection Committee activities. Sarah, RMO Source Protection Technician. Thank you. Welcome. Yes.
Yes, hello. Nice to be back. You're in now. See everyone again.
Yeah.
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm going to be going over the agenda item number 6, that's SPC activities. So since our last Source Protection Authority meeting, the SPC met in July 3rd, 2025. So this report will just quickly summarize what that meeting was about. It started with the chair report and then other business. The SPC received acknowledgement from the ministries that they had sent the letter to that was concerning the reduction in funding for drinking water and environmental technologists in post-secondary programming. And then members in the SPC also expressed interest in issuing further letters to appropriate authorities. So institutions, so one of them being Ontario Association of Certified Engineering Technicians and Technologists. We discussed the annual progress report. So the 2024 progress report was submitted on time and no comments were received to discuss during the meeting. Lead update reports were provided. So each Source Protection Authority has a lead and no notable mentions were discussed during the meeting for each region. One of the key topics here was the section 36 update. So project coordinator Keith Taylor provided an update on the section 36 amendments. At this time, ministry negotiations were occurring and they were successful. A full summary of those actions can be found in the minutes that were attached in the package. A key outcome of this meeting and the section 36 discussion was that there was a reconsideration for policies S9 and S10 for the Trent Conservation Source Protection Plan. So this policy S9 requires a risk management plan for existing stormwater activities that constitute a significant drinking water threat in WAPA A's. And then future activities are exempt, except in WAPA A's where future activities are actually prohibited under S10. So originally these policies were going to be removed from the source protection plan, but it was discussed that they should rescind these due to the ministry moving towards an electronic management for source protection and, or sorry, stormwater activities. So this revision reflects the recognition that certain stormwater related threats are exempt through environmental compliance approvals. So in those cases, activities constitute a significant drinking water threat. They still need to be managed through a prescribed instrument. And that's what this would, what policy S9 and S10 would do. So it was, so policy S9 and 10 are sticking around. Section 34 update at this time, Kings Bay was approved and is now in effect. And then water systems that will be updated were Mariposa Estates and Woods of Manila, which we have a report coming up on in a few stages, but that concludes agenda item number 6.
So that was my question to Mark, was about what, moving the stormwater and whatever to another area. How does that work? Like another policy? So due to changes that the Ontario government has put in place, now some stormwater threats are exempt from being managed by environmental compliance approvals, including consolidated linear infrastructure approvals. This means there could be now be some sewage stormwater threats that could be managed. So it's just being managed in another policy.
Correct. They're smaller systems as well.
Okay.
That are exempt from the environmental compliance approval, but then they would still be managed through a risk management plan.
Okay.
Or prohibited.
Okay, or prohibited.
Yeah.
And just reading through it was like Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Umafra. They're talking about how the different ministries are compliant and some aren't.
Yes.
That was kind of interesting too. So anyway, thank you for your report. Are there any questions? I don't see any. So resolve that the update on source water protection committee activities be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Jerry and Harold. All in favor? Carried. Good. Okay. Number 7, Trent Source Protection Plan Annual Progress Report. Sarah also, there you go. I looked down and I know there's something for Mark also.
All right, through you, Madam Chair. So under the Clean Water Act and the associated General Regulation 28707, which identifies reporting requirements for the Source Protection Authority, there's a need to report to MECP for progress related to our source protection plan implementation. So each source protection region submits one for the full source protection plan. We are one of 5. So that's why I believe the package that you have includes Ganaraska and other regions for our source protection plan. This annual progress report is due May 1st. So the information contained within these reports is dictated by the ministry. It's a public facing document and it's designed to summarize all the information in a clear manner. As of 2021, we do reporting through an online electronic portal format throughout the region. So it's pretty standardized. And the annual report information has been compiled and summarized broadly for our area and then attached to the agenda package. Grading content for the report is to be approved by the board. And then due to timing related to the approval of the annual report, the information was presented to the SPC on March 19th. So this regional annual progress report is being submitted to the Kawartha-Haliburton Source Protection Authority Board of Directors for endorsement, which will then allow the lead Source Protection Authority, Lower Trent, to submit the annual report by the May 1st deadline. So any comments or questions will be reflected in the final package that's submitted here today. So the report consists of 5 sections: municipal progress, septic inspections, risk management plans, excuse me, provincial progress, and awarenesses and change in behavior. Each section requires a grade. So these grades are progressing well on target, satisfactory, or limiting progress made. Starting off with municipal progress, a total of 56 policies municipalities are responsible for. All municipalities have established standard operating procedures. 5 of 6 municipalities have amendments to their official plans, and 4 or 5 have zoning bylaws. The one outstanding is Minden Hills. However, they've drafted an official plan and zoning bylaw amendment, and we've been in contact with a few people in the SPC, myself and Mark, and Minden Hills, and we're all very happy with the progress that Minden Hills has made this year. So a rating of P progressing well on target is suggested. Septic inspections, so under the building code, the Ontario Building Code, which requires septic inspection threats to be subject to a mandatory inspection program within the source protection areas. We are in our fifth year phase. So all septic threats have been inspected for this phase. That's 405, 359 of these are in Kawartha Lakes. 25 were inspected through Region of Durham, and 21 at the Township of Minden Hills were inspected in the last year. So progressing well or on target is suggested. For risk management plans, risk management officials are the implementing body for 39 of the policies in the source protection plan. This includes under the Clean Water Act, Section 57 prohibition, Section 58 risk management plans, and Section 59 restricted land use. 3 risk management plans were established. I believe these 3 risk management plans were Minden Hills as well. 31 inspections occurred for existing risk management plans. And then the MECP is now asking for Section 59 notices. So within our region, 35 Section 59 notices were issued. We do have one outstanding fuel threat in Bethany. So in our region, it's a fuel threat. However, work has begun to manage this threat. So a Section 58 for a notice for a requirement for a risk management plan has been issued, and I've been working with the landowner to try and get this sorted and hopefully just completely removed. Progressing P well on target is suggested. Keep progressing well, I said that right. Okay, provincial progress, 5 provincial ministries report on 27 policies within the plan. 93% of these have been implemented and 7 are reported to be in progress. A table has been put into the agenda for your review, but similar to last year, staff have determined that the details in their reporting lack any sort of detail beneficial to understanding the issues and how they're managed. So we are suggesting a satisfactory rating again. Discussions with MECP and the negotiations during the Section 36 amendment process hope to kind of fix this problem for next year for 2026 reporting. So yeah, we're hoping that that gets fixed. Awareness and change in behavior. 10 policies are utilize education and outreach to influence behavior, provide information, and encourage voluntary adoption of practices. So signs are a big one in our region. Last year we did a survey, and hopefully this year we can have a couple more signs installed and then just a few moved. Regionally, the threat of road salt continues to be a focus, and with the Section 36 amendments, education and outreach is going to be a big part of the education and outreach that we do for salt. And that's specifically in residential and commercial spaces. Fuel and oil threats are another key focus with the Section 36 amendments. Above ground fuel tanks are considered a threat. This last year, we've done social media posts and focused information on local fuel suppliers. And finally, best practices initiative is a science and knowledge based program that provides information to the public. So 5 free webinars were held in 2025 and they're posted on YouTube with over 800 views. So a suggested rating of P progressing well on target is suggested. And then just a quick summary. So all categories are suggested as progressing well or on target with the exception of provincial progress. And the overall status of P progressing well or on target is suggested for our region.
Great, thank you. I just have a quick question on the salt. There've been lots of resolutions come through. I know we did one at Kawartha Lakes, you know, asking the province to look into this and change the amount of salt that's required. I guess this year it's interesting because there was a dearth of salt, you know, so that see if that makes any difference in salinity in some of the areas that are tested. That'll be interesting, but yeah, salt's a big issue.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, so resolve that the Kawartha-Haliburton Source Protection Authority approve the grade of P progressive well on target for the status of implementation within the watershed, and that the draft Kawartha-Haliburton Source Protection Authority annual progress report be endorsed and forwarded to the Source Protection Committee for comment as required by Section 46 of the Clean Water Act and Section 52 of the Ontario Regulation 287/7. Okay, I need a mover and a seconder. Okay, Kriya and Lloyd, all in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're on to 8, Source Protection Committee, Kawartha-Haliburton Source Protection Area Municipal Representative, CAO. Mark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is just a really quick update on the, we had 1 vacancy on the Source Protection Committee. There's 3rd municipal members allowed on the Source Protection Committee for the region. We are allowed 2 in our particular Source Protection Authority boundary because there's a large area to the north that we pull in from County of Haliburton. So that member exists as Cecil Ryle. I believe I pronounced his name right. And we were vacant for a member in the south. So the city of Kawartha Lakes, who's a traditional member that's been on the SPC, they have most of the systems per municipality across the entire region, so it kind of makes sense. They nominated Jenna Stevens, who used to be sitting in these chairs as well, very familiar with the Source Protection Program. So she was nominated by the City of Kawartha Lakes. She's a planning officer for environmental policy with the municipality, and we received all of the nominations support, or all the support for the nominations from municipalities, and she was appointed to the Source Protection Committee on February 12th of this year. So and I believe she would have been in the meeting that just had. So so that's just the really quick update on that.
There you go. Okay. Jen is a good choice. Okay, can I have a mover and seconder just to receive Mark's report? Peter and Harold, all in favor? Carried. Okay. All righty. 9, issuance of S.48 notice municipal drinking water system upgrade. Sarah.
Mark, did you want to do this one or do you want me to do that?
How about I can give a bit of an introduction if there's more details you can add to it. So the Woods of Manila drinking water system, there is a delegated ability for the CAO to sign just to keep things moving, because we recognize that Source Protection Authority meetings are held on a monthly basis, which makes it difficult to implement some what I'll call simple, relatively simple upgrades to systems. In this case, Woods of Manila, they did drill a new well. I think they did decommission their old well as well in order to provide additional capacity for the system. And what that does is triggers a notice that's required from the Source Protection Authority to move forward in the process in order to be able to submit an actual amendment package to the ministry. So this is just a bit of a summary of that process, and just identifying that since I did issue a Section 48 notice that is coming to your attention.
Okay, thank you. Anybody need any further information? Okay, Kriya?
Yes, thank you, and through you, Chair, to Mark. I don't know, I'm interested in Manila Woods because a new proposed subdivision is planned to be across the road from the Manila Woods, and I think they're meant to be separate septic systems and wells, but this is the second time in the meeting we've talked about Manila Woods. Is there an issue with the water table in Manila Woods, or something that is there some flag that's been raised about the amount of water in Manila Woods or anything like that?
Maybe what I'll do, Madam Chair, is turn that over to Sarah. She'll be much more familiar with the specifics on that.
So the reason for the decommissioning and the change of the wells is because they were having turbidity problems. So it's not anything to do with the capacity or water table. It was just that they had one, I believe it was an emergency well. Failure due to increased turbidity, and then decommissioned, and then that wasn't used. So during this whole process, they've also drilled a new well and decommissioned that one. So there's I haven't heard of any concerns through this process.
Okay, because when we did have a public information center about when Brock Township hosted it in the Manila Hall, a lot of the public attended, and they had huge concerns about this new subdivision development because of water issues there. So my antenna go up when I hear it, and I just wondered if there's any other facts around it that could be learned. So you're saying that not to your knowledge there aren't other issues, or there isn't a history of water issues in Manila?
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair. I don't believe so, but I'd be happy to look into that further and maybe get back to you.
But I'd love to hear if there, I would love any more details, because it is an important big issue in the area, and I'm on the Brock side of the road. But this is where Kawartha Lakes and Brock have to work together. Thank you.
All righty. Okay, so resolve that notice of complete submission and potential Trent Source Protection Plan amendment be received for the Woods of Manila Municipal Residential Drinking Water System upgrade. So I need a mover and a seconder, please. Pam, Peter, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we're on to 10. Sarah. Clean Water Act legislative update.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So the current process to amend source protection plans, I think as we've seen with the Section 36 amendments and some of the 34s, can be quite a long process, and does include some areas of redundancy and extended waiting periods for review. So there have been proposed changes to the Clean Water Act and the regulations associated to help with some straightforward amendments, such as administrative or, excuse me, bringing on new systems or changes to vulnerable mapping. These updates usually include a review from the Source Protection Authority, Source Protection Committee, and ultimately the ministry. So it can, take quite some time. So the ERO 25-1006 is for legislative, and then ERO 25-1104 is proposed regulatory updates. And these regulatory changes do remain under consideration. I believe the November 3rd, yes, Bill 56 moved to royal assent for the Clean Water Act amendments. So key changes shift certain approval authorities from the ministry to the Source Protection Authority. And this would enable the approval of routine or low risk amendments to the Source Protection Plan. This also establishes very defined timelines for the ministry, so 120 days maximum, or if that's not reached, then it's deemed approved at that point. Standardized policies related to prescribed instruments, so it provides a more consistent framework for the application of prescribed instrument policies for the region to ensure a threat ceases to be or never becomes a significant drinking water threat. So the standardization of prescribed instrument policy approaches is a shift within the existing framework. The standardization measures include limiting policies to prohibition of future significant drinking water threats, removing policies related to existing low or moderate threats, and requiring documentation for reporting to demonstrate conformity with the applicable policies. And this is specifically for ministry standards, reporting standards. Together, these postings represent a shift towards a streamlined, development-aligned source protection framework. It's generally viewed as a positive shift, and it results in faster amendment timelines, hopefully up to 6 months, increased decision-making responsibility for the Source Protection Authority. It reduces the consultation and procedural requirements, all the redundancies, getting approval and moving forward with public consultation is one of them. And then more flexibility for municipal water system approvals. And this is particularly for growth-related infrastructure. So getting those systems up and running quicker. And then that's it.
Great. Okay, any questions for Sarah? All righty, can I have a motion to receive her report, please? Harold and anybody else? Okay, how about Walt? There we go. All in favor? Carried. All right. Okay. Here we back again. 11 ERO, proposed regional consolidation of conservation authorities. How it will affect source water protection.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is, I'm sure it's on everyone's radar, but from a source water perspective, thought it'd be prudent to make sure there's a report on the provincial decision to amalgamate conservation authorities. The summary of this is that the province is going to take all 36 conservation authorities, meld them into 9 different regional entities. And in doing so, it does change the source protection framework in some ways. None of that has been identified exactly how that will happen at present. But certainly there are some the appointments that happen at the lower tiers. One of the things that is happening through the proposal is that upper tiers will be represented at the regional conservation authority. Whether that migrates to the source protection framework has not been identified, or no information has been forthcoming at this point in time. The region itself that we would be a part of, which is the Eastern Lake Ontario region, would fully encompass 3 different source protection regions. So that would be the Trent system, which has 5 conservation authorities altogether. The Quinte source protection region, which was originally 3 conservation authorities, but amalgamated into one big river system in the 1990s. 95s, and then the last one on the far side is Cataract Way, source protection region. So it fully encompasses those three, and just how source water is incorporated into the regional conservation authorities, and how all that will work is, as I mentioned, has not been detailed in really any way at this point in time. So we do await further provincial indications of what the plan is for source water under this framework. The only thing that is clear is that they have indicated that drinking water source protection is a valuable program, and it will continue under the new structure. So we are awaiting potentially a release by the province today on any potential announcements regarding the regional consolidation of CAs, and we'll see if that contains any information as well for from a source water protection standpoint.
Okay. Any questions, Pam?
Not a question, just a thank you. I think I called Mark on a late Friday because Amo Roma staff were putting together a response to this when it just came out. And I kind of caught you like at the tail end of a weekend or beginning of a weekend. And you responded really quickly and had input into what the Amo Roma position would be. So I just want to say thanks to Sam for that quick response and staying on top of this.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, can I have a motion to receive Mark's report, please? Okay, Lloyd, and a seconder. Pam?
Sure.
Oh, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. So I think that's, okay, correspondence.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Most of the material here is all related to the nomination of Jenna
Yeah,
Stevens as the Source Protection
Right.
Committee, and all the support from municipalities on that. There is one final piece of correspondence near the bottom, which is the minister's approval of, I believe it was the section 36 amendments. So
Yeah.
it was great to have the updated source protection plan approved by the minister.
great, thank you. Okay, can I have a motion to resolve that the correspondence be received? Tracy and Peter, all in favor? Carried. Great. Any new business? None seen. Okay, next meeting will be April 23rd, 2026. There you go. Okay, next month. There you go. Okay, and I need a motion to adjourn. Pam and Walt, all in favor? Carried. You?
It was iPhone.
So funny, that was so appropriate. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
That was good. Okay. All right,
Thank you. Nice to see everyone.
nice. We're not finished yet.
Oh,
Hello, for
oh,
those,
sorry.
those on our board.
Oh, you're right. Of course, yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for coming down, Pam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you again. Take care.
Okay. So here we go. Okay. So Louisa can stay, so I need a motion that the board,
Did you want?
oh, sorry, did I miss something?
New business and any reports from?
Oh, okay.
Updates.
Sure, before we do that. Okay, any new business from our committee? Our board? Nope. Okay, so. And nothing to report, no exciting news? Okay. All right. Okay, resolve that the board of directors, that the board enter into a closed session. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Jerry and Harold, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Thank you, everyone.